I've spent more than a month exploring with the new OM System 50-200 F2.8 Pro Telephoto lens, and I have to say it's exceptional. Highest quality all around and amazing versatility, from songbirds to megafauna and from macro scale to comets and the moon, and landscapes as well. It is more than a worthy addition to the impressive lineup of OM System lenses. So join me as I discuss this exciting new Pro lens and share my results. Well, thanks to OM System for lending me the new Zuiko digital 50-200mm F2.8 IS Pro Telephoto lens for the last month or so, and I've really been enjoying it. It's really an awesome new lens, and here it is. I guess a lot of people are calling it a little white, but what I have here is just 4 other lenses. This is the 40-150 F2.8 internal zoom lens. This is the new 100-400 IS2, or 100-400 Mark II, the 50-200, and the 300 F4. And you can see that size-wise, the new one is about similar in size to the 300 F4. When I get a lens like this to use for a month, I live and breathe this lens. I shoot it every day in all different kinds of conditions and scenarios. And so I really get a feel for it. You know, as I always do, I'll just show you lots of examples. There's 2 things that come to mind with the new 50-200. It's quality and just the feel and the tactile feedback of you're using a really high quality optical instrument. And second is its incredible versatility. I mean, the old 40-150 was versatile, but it was way short on the bird area, unless you could get really close, and I mean really close. At 400 millimeters, from 12 feet, a typical songbird like a sparrow or a bunting or a chickadee is really still pretty darn small in the frame. So if you're really going to focus on birds, you need reach. I mean, I knew it would do a great job at the 50-200 range, but I wanted to try it out with the 2 teleconverters, and I really worked it hard with both the 1.4 and the 2.0. But versatility, you know, if you said, okay, I need a lens that I'm going to be going, on a hike anywhere, landscape, astrophotography, I'll show you all sorts of examples of the fun I had with this lens. So let's go through the lens. It's like about the same length as the 300 F4. It's a little bit wider than the 300 F4, and it has a bigger lens hood. And this is the first lens that's completely done in-house by OM System. And they really outdid themselves. I weighed this at a little less than 3 pounds with everything attached, but it feels a lot lighter than you would think it would be. For its size, it feels light. Stripped down to just the lens, I measured 2 pounds 6 ounces, which is just as advertised. And with the most likely configuration I'd carry, with the lens hood and a 1.4 teleconverter, I got 2 pounds 12 ounces, which is easy to carry all day. And this lens with the OM-1 works great on my cotton carrier system for carrying all day, and especially on hikes that are a bit more challenging. It's just so great to take a break and walk hands-free once in a while and know your expensive kit is safe and ready for quick action. It's also easy to carry the 2 teleconverters attached to the cotton carrier system. I'll put a link to my review of that carrying system in the description. So it has the traditional programmable buttons, 4 of them around here, and a lens function button. These all perform the same function. Set those in your camera software, set your lens function in your camera software. IS on and off, manual focus, and then a focus limiter to increase your focus speed. 0.78, which is the minimal focus distance, which is pretty incredible, and that's through the entire focal range. And when you put a 2.0 teleconverter on here, then you've got a 1-to-1 macro capabilities, and that's pretty cool because you have there's about 2.5 feet standoff from a subject. I mean, it's not going to replace like a 90 millimeter dedicated macro lens, but for most people's needs, in particular mine, when you have those opportunities where you're walking through the forest or something, you see something interesting in the macro scale. I did not spend a lot of time with macro capabilities and features such as focus stacking. Other than to satisfy myself with a little more dedication, excellent results would be possible. And then of course 3 meter to infinity and full. And you got to remember when you use this, if you're right on the cusp of these ranges here, you might have trouble with autofocus because you're right at the limit of the cutoffs here. Unless I know I'm going to be really close or really far, I'll just leave it in full. A minor thing, but in the heat of the battle, I've had cases where I said, "But this thing is not focusing. What's up?" And I look down and say, "Oh my gosh, I got to set it 3 meters to infinity." So that's one thing you always want to check before you start your shoot. Image stabilization is just outstanding. And of course, that's one of the big improvements over the 40 to 150. This one doesn't really have sync IS with the camera like this one does. And that's really, really nice. Quality of construction is outstanding. And there's a reason why upscale lenses are white. I have the 150 to 600. It's a big lens, external zoom, so it gets really big when you zoom it out at 600 millimeters. And it's, it's jet black. And if I'm out there on a sunny day shooting it, that thing will get hot, and that will affect the optical performance of the lens. So I'm actually thinking of getting some of those kits where you can white out your big lenses, especially the 150 to 600. It's got special coating on all the lenses, and it's got fluorine coating on the objective lens, which helps repel water and dust and dirt. It's got a nice big lens hood. I like the simplicity of a lens hood. It doesn't have any fancy engineering like the 300 f4 or the 40 to 150. Lens hood on those two lenses is probably over-engineered, although I've personally never had a big problem with them. The lens hood also has a clever sliding window so you can adjust filters like a circular polarization filter without removing the lens hood. Tripod collar is easily removable. Has the same 77 millimeter filter size as the 300 f4. The 100 to 400 is 72, and the 40 to 150 is also 72. So a bigger objective lens lets a little more light in there also. And then generally the larger diameter of this makes its light gathering capability better and makes it a nice bright lens, F2.8 through the entire range. So that's 100 to 400 millimeter, 35 millimeter equivalent field of view. The internal zoom F2.8 across the whole 100 to 400 millimeter range. It just works great with both the 1.4 and the 2.0 teleconverter. So with the 1.4 teleconverter on there, it's a 560 millimeter f4, and with the 2.0 teleconverter on there, it's an 800 millimeter f5.6. You get up to 7 stops of 5-axis sync image stabilization. It's IP53 certified weather sealing, and I've used it in the rain, and light rain at least, kind of cold and foggy conditions, and it worked fine. And I've kind of been playing around with this because this works great with Pro Capture, experimenting with setting my set button to Pro Capture so I can easily switch back and forth to Pro Capture in the moment with birds. It works with all the bells and whistles like focus stacking and Pro Capture, and 50 frames per second continuous autofocus shooting. So as far as just the physical aspect of the lens, I really love it. I mean, it looks like it would be heavy. It's not heavy. It really feels good on the camera and in your hands. The zoom ring is real easy. It doesn't take not a big turn from full 50 to 200. Focus ring, nice and smooth. Really a nice piece of kit. Really high quality. Now, of course, it's not cheap. I think it sells somewhere around $36.99. But still, you think this is expensive, but I guess you compare it to Big White and the quality of the construction and the development went into it. It's really quite an impressive lens. Now, I did all my shooting with the 50 to 200 on the OM-1 Mark2. I don't think there was any doubt that this lens would do an outstanding job on megafauna and close-up with birds. And if you can get really close, you'll likely take the best bird photos and videos of your life with this lens. In fact, I knew that I was likely to be able to get a selfie in a friendly Florida scrub jay's eye. My main focus is on versatility for longer range bird and mammal use, and I imagine I would almost always use this lens with the 1.4 teleconverter attached, like I do with the 40 to 150 millimeter, making it a 560 millimeter f4 equivalent, and carry the 2.0 teleconverter, which is 800 millimeter f5.6 equivalent, for when I need it. So I spent a lot of time trying those out on birds. A small songbird like a painted bunting is pretty small in a 400 millimeter frame, even from just 20 feet. Fortunately, both the 1.4 and 2.0 teleconverters work great with the 50 to 200 millimeter. Here's an example from 150 feet away, measured on a line from the lens to the bird, which is about 60 feet up in the top of a tree. This red-shouldered hawk is beginning the mating season and in no particular rush, so I was able to film it with both teleconverters. Intuitively, the closer you get, the better quality the pictures and videos will be. But that's not always possible or even always desirable. I found that the 1.4 TC works very well, and I would have it on this lens most of the time when I carry it. The autofocus worked well on the 1.4 with no real detectable difference with the lens alone performance. The 2.0 worked nearly as well with just the occasional slight lag, more noticeable when I was shooting video, but not a big deal. The image stabilization worked well in all configurations and made shooting video, even with the TC 2.0, no problem. This is an easy lens to hand hold. My Blue Jay friends made it easy to do some pixel peeping with the 2.0 teleconverter. I found the results to exceed my expectations, and none of these images have been post-processed with AI noise reduction or sharpening, so that would improve results even more. Autofocus was very fast in bird mode with the teleconverters and excellent at getting the bird's eyes even in dense foliage. I love this quick sequence of shots I was able to get of a scrub jay foraging its natural scrub oak acorns about 25 feet away with the 1.4 TC. The 50-200 F2.8 is perfect for landscape photography that combines elements of differing scales and interesting foregrounds and backgrounds, and dramatically framing your subject like birds and wildlife more intimately within their larger environment, especially if the landscape is large. I found it particularly good for night sky photography that incorporates landscape, such as with Comet Lemon. With f2.8 at 400 millimeters and an outstanding optics, the 50-200 millimeter is the perfect lens for astrophotography, particularly for comets and the moon, and works great with both teleconverters. I had a lot of fun working with Comet Lemon on it in late October. I think this lens would be perfect for catching the elusive red sprites and other fascinating electrical phenomena that occurs above strong thunderstorms over the horizon. I caught some red sprites with the 8mm fisheye this past summer, but they were so small in the frame. So I'm going to experiment with the f2.8 telephoto next year. Really, when you start talking about the new 50-200 Pro or the Mini White, you're really talking about comparing it to the older 40-150 and the 300 f4. And I got to say that if you would have asked me before this lens come out and said if I could only have one OM System lens, what would it be? It would be the 40-150, despite the fact it was limited reach. And of course, the 300 f4 is just in a category by itself. There's no other lens like this in its class. You're basically 600 millimeters of reach at the f4, incredibly bright, incredibly sharp, and of course it will outperform this one in the 600 millimeter range. But this is not a versatile lens. So if I could only have one OM System lens today, it would be the new 50-200 millimeter f2.8, which has 100 millimeter more reach than the 40-150 and is incredibly versatile, with both teleconverters, of course. But fortunately, I can have more than one lens. If you're a dedicated bird photographer, like 80% or more of the time you're after birds, you may find that you are always using the 50-200 with the 1.4 teleconverter and maxed out at 400 millimeters or 560 millimeter equivalent for frame filling shots and wanting more reach. But remember, always filling the frame does not necessarily lead to the best bird photographs, and zooming flexibility for sizing the surrounding environment counts a lot for a good picture. Perhaps a near perfect, albeit expensive 1-2 combo might be this new 50-200 millimeter and the 150-400 millimeter big white. One advantage of the 40-150 millimeter f2.8 is its small size and unassuming nature, which can allow one to keep a low profile while shooting with a telephoto, and that may well come in handy in a street, city, and travel photography situation where not attracting attention is preferable. The good news, OM System just has an incredible array of lenses to choose from, and they all have their strengths. They're all just good lenses. I mean, would I give up the 40-150? Would I even consider giving the 300 f4? No, I would never consider. I don't care what lens comes out. This lens will always be in my toolkit, even if I don't use it as much as maybe I used to. It's there for a special purpose. And if you get this beautiful lens, you're going to want to protect it. JJC camera cases that are on the Amazon, and maybe you can get them at other photo dealers. I'll put a link in the description. Really works well. This is the case that fits my 300 to f4. The 50-200 being just a little wider, makes a little tighter fit, but it works fine in this. Reverse the hood. But I like it fits in there nice and snug. And there you go, your 50-200 is going to be easy to transport and be protected. You want to protect these lenses. To me, the OM System lenses just have such good aesthetic feedback to me. And that's one of the reasons why I switched to OM System. It's one of those intangible things about camera systems that I'll digress just for a minute. You know, I've shot Canon for decades, and just strange things aligned that I ended up trying OM System. And from the moment I picked up the OM-1 and OM-1 Mark II and started using the lenses, and it was just that aesthetic feedback that the technology and the design gave me, and the quality of the lenses in particular, just such a good selection of lenses. You know, when I'm out in the field, of course, I work them hard, but when I clean them and put them away, I want to take good care of these lenses. One thing, they're expensive, and two, you respect the just the aesthetic of the lenses and the system itself. So, you know, that's my kind of off-the-wall, non-technical impression of OM and OM System M-Zuiko lenses in general. So wrapping this up, the new OM System 50-200 Pro is an outstanding and versatile lens, light and easy to carry all day. Works great with both 1.4 and 2.0 teleconverters. Excellent autofocus and image stabilization as is and with both teleconverters. Very easy to use handheld for photos and for extended video recordings. With F2.8 through the focal range, this is an excellent astrophotography zoom lens and makes a great comet hunter. I had a lot of fun shooting comet lemon with it. I will likely upgrade to this lens in the near future and would almost always carry it with the 1.4 teleconverter attached, making it a very capable and versatile 140 to 560mm f4 zoom lens. This would be perfect for animals, especially megafauna, and birding boardwalks, parks, and blinds, etc., where you know you'll be within reasonable range of birds, and your resulting photos will be excellent. Dedicated bird specialists will need more than just this lens to cover all the bird bases, and OM System has quite a selection of longer lenses to fit anyone's needs. So have fun out there.